The Tournament of Power arrived, forcing everyone to team up with Vegeta. And it looks like Vegeta, Gohan, and Goku are all in the same realm of power. But Vegeta's got a second wind. He's gonna get stronger again. What'll happen from here on out? We'll cover all that and more in this finale of What If Vegeta Was Like Broly. Moro eventually escapes from prison, but he'd probably be better off just staying there because he doesn't know what's on the outside. He ends up going to Namek, trying to get the Dragon Balls for himself. Without Majin Buu being around, they couldn't get the Grand Supreme Kai's help, but the Galactic Patrol still knew that there were strong people on Earth, and not just there either. There was also someone else who was more likely to help, a mercenary. At least, formerly. They went to Planet Cereal and recruited Granola for a price. He hasn't taken a paid job in a while, and this one's kinda good because it's actually doing something worthwhile, and it's not just being a criminal. Plus, they know he's done some shady stuff in the past, so as part of the payment, they'll also overlook anything he's ever done. And he's pretty no-nonsense about it. Thanks to instant transmission, he gets to Namek pretty quickly. He has actually returned to Yardrat here and there, and he is actually the perfect candidate to fight Moro, which is another reason they recruited him. He's never really used Force Spirit Fission, but he knows the basics of it. So even though he's not really practiced with it, and he hasn't really used it in combat either, it could be applicable here, but it might not even be necessary. Moro is pretty weak as is, and as long as Granola doesn't mess around, he could easily kill Moro before he takes any energy from him or the planet. Through a combination of overpowering him, his fighting experience, and his abilities as a Cerealian, on top of his spirit control, this would be a really easy battle for him. Moro is killed and he's not a problem at all. So after this arc, we have the Granola arc. Oh wait, no we don't, because Granola's here. He's been in the story for a while, so alright, I guess superheroes next. Well, not exactly. Cell never showed up in this scenario. He's here, but he hasn't been activated just yet. So there's not going to be a Cell Max. There's just going to be Cell. This entire time, the supercomputer has been working on Cell. But since this project has been left up to his supercomputer and so much has changed over this time, I feel like it would probably still be collecting data. Like, consider what happened originally. There wasn't really any data to collect. In the timeline the original Cell's from, there wasn't really that much data to collect after the Saiyan saga. Goku ended up going to Namek, and I'm sure there was training here and there on Earth, but really the only thing of substance was the fact that Goku fought Frieza, which is when Cell stopped collecting data because he has Frieza's DNA and King Cold's. After that there was literally nothing. It was just everyone dying against the androids, and then Trunks fighting the androids. But since Cell was never destroyed here and he kept developing, I feel a supercomputer would try and compensate for that. Maybe it was still studying everybody, and decided to collect more DNA. Now, it's not going to have Beerus or Whis' DNA because the drones probably wouldn't even be able to sense the energy that they give off. Although it is built for regular keys, so it would go after other strong warriors it finds. So it would get updated data from Goku and Gohan, the latter of which wasn't initially part of Cell, and it would probably even get data from the battles like Raditz and Nappa showing up on Earth, though they're not really going to contribute too much, and probably DNA from Granola and Broly. No Vegeta here because he hasn't shown up on Earth at all. Maybe he showed up there very briefly before the Tournament of Power, but he's never fought on Earth, much less shown up on it. So Cell does have some updated data, and notably he has the DNA of Broly, so Vegeta wouldn't even really matter anyways. Red Pharmaceuticals would probably try and free Hedo from prison, though I don't know what project they'd work on. They wouldn't have Jiro's data to work off of, and maybe this wouldn't even happen because, yes, they know about the androids being defeated, but it's not like they're recreating Cell here because they don't know about Cell. Maybe he'd still work on the Gammas, but obviously they're not going to be a world-ending threat. They're actually good guys. What actually happens is Cell awakens. The Cell from this timeline is complete. In the sense that he's awoken, not that he's perfect. He still is imperfect. He needs the two androids as part of him, though that's not happening here. But Cell still feels really strong. Stronger than he expected. He has so much great data as part of him that, maybe even in this imperfect form, he'd be strong enough to fight anyone he wants. He does go around absorbing some people, but it's not like he really needs the extra food. This is partially to kill time and partially to draw other people out. The first person to find him is Goku, being sent out by Kami who sent Cell in the first place. And immediately he's alert. Once he encounters Cell, he feels the key of so many people that he knows. Now, Cell doesn't have Frieza's DNA here, same for King Cold, but that doesn't really matter. He has extras like Broly and Gohan who really compensate for his power, and he's going to have the abilities of Granola too. And Goku recognizes all of these key signatures. Who is this guy? And Cell simply says that he's Goku's brother. He's not Raditz. The two begin fighting, and at one point in the battle, Cell almost stabs Goku with his tail, which Goku ends up instinctively dodging, even without transforming. This catches Cell off guard, and Goku then shows off his full power. His hair turns silver, and Cell's a little bit confused. He's seen Goku before with a different form. His hair was a similar color, but this time it's a different shape, and the ore is completely different. And yeah, Goku says Cell's thinking of the Beast form. This is Ultra Instinct. Since a few years have passed since the Tournament of Power, Goku's had more than enough training, and he's actually moved on to this. Now, I don't think he would be as experienced with Ultra Instinct as he is in the normal story because, thanks to Beast, he got kinda sidetracked, but he could still use the form willingly, and having it in general is a huge boost. He's actually tried using Ultra Instinct while in Beast, and he can use the principles of it, but not the power boost from it. Before, he was actually using it in Base and his other forms when fighting Cell, but now that he's at his full power, he's just using Ultra Instinct, and he's trying to draw out his potential with Ultimate. These two don't conflict. If he tries to use Beast, that form is all about anger, so it's not really going to work too well with it. And sensing this battle going on, another warrior shows up, Gohan, immediately going into his Beast form, and now the battle's a 2v1. Ultimate Ultra Instinct Goku and Beast Gohan versus Cell. But Cell starts to show a lot more power. He knows the Beast form quite well himself, and not just that. His aura flares up. Sparks of red electricity form around him, and his aura is green. It's not like he could transform into Beast or Broly's full power form, but he's using those same principles there. He doesn't physically change. He'd probably buff himself up a bit, growing more muscular, but otherwise, it's just his aura growing more intense and his eyes starting to glow. This is Cell drawing out all of his power. And with the powers of Beast and full power working together, they both can grow from anger, so he uses that to his advantage. There is no need to keep a cool head. Just fight all out and hold nothing back. And Cell puts up a really good battle against them. He holds off the two of them at once, but with two people against him at the same time, they do end up overpowering him. A father-son Kamehameha destroys Cell. And just as they finish the battle, Broly shows up. He's glad things are sorted here because he feels bad for getting here too late. Actually, he's just on time. Gohan's guard is lowered. Why wouldn't it be? Cell was completely incinerated. At least, so they thought. There was a little bit of him left, and he regenerates from nothingness, catching everyone by surprise as he stabs Gohan with his tail, absorbing a bunch of his energy. Gohan quickly powers up and chops Cell's tail off, but he's had most of his power drained here. And Cell thanks Piccolo for that. Even though he's long since been sealed, Piccolo's still haunting Goku. That's a blast from the past. Goku completely forgot about Piccolo and his regeneration, though now that he thinks about it, he did feel Piccolo as part of Cell's ki, but to think he contributed this much. And with the regeneration, plus absorbing Gohan's energy, Cell gets a huge second wind. Broly says he'll fight in place of Gohan, going into his full power, which he now has complete control of. And Goku's still using Ultimate Ultra Instinct. The two fight together, but Cell is growing more and more. His stamina has gone down a bit from regenerating, but with the power he's gained from his Zenkai and absorbing Gohan's ki, it already made up for it. And Cell's starting to realize he doesn't need perfection. He's already perfect as is. He has the abilities of so many great fighters. He has godly ki. He has the power of Broly, the power of Gohan. His eyes are as sharp as granolas. He has Piccolo's regeneration, and he's a Saiyan. All this together, plus his new power boost, causes Goku and Broly to lose. But just as Cell's about to eliminate them, he senses another strong power approaching, and so does everyone else. There's a faint green glow in the sky, and then the ground erupts. Somebody's landed. Vegeta's standing there, in his full power form. Vegeta? How'd he get here? Well, he flew, of course. He can survive out in space, and he's fast enough to do that. Once he sent Cell's ki, it only took about a minute to get here. Goku chuckles a bit. What, Vegeta's here to save the day? Not exactly. He sensed a strong opponent, and he wanted to see this guy for himself. But to think that he's defeated Kakarot, as well as Broly and Gohan. Maybe this guy will be a nice punching bag for him. Vegeta expected fodder, but clearly not. Cell doesn't really know much about Vegeta. He's heard about him in passing, but he's never seen him and he doesn't have any data on him. But he tells Vegeta he should stop being so cocky. You know what? He'll make a nice snack for Cell. Really now. Goku does warn Vegeta that he's dangerous. He's the culmination of every fighter here that Vegeta's fought. Granola's on cereal at the moment, so he's not going to help, and Raditz and Nappa were left behind. So it was only these three on Earth that were fighting him, and they were still defeated. Vegeta says it shouldn't be a problem. His aura explodes out of him, and then takes on a slightly different shade, and becomes a little bit calmer. Goku's jaw nearly drops because he senses godly ki flowing through Vegeta. Vegeta says it's perfect timing. He wanted to test out this new power. In his first encounter with Goku, he didn't get much exposure to godly ki. But during the tournament, Vegeta did try to take some of it for himself. Now, it was easier said than done. He didn't even know what he was looking for or how to get it. He tried to study Goku, tried to figure out what he did to get that power, not realizing that he had to actually train under Beerus and Whis. So Vegeta actually tried something out. Goku was on Earth for a brief period of time. What Goku doesn't realize is that during that period of time, Vegeta sparred with Beerus again. He had been training really consistently and intensely, and he spent a few days training under Whis too, just to see what he was capable of. This is a surprise to Goku. He would have expected Beerus to tell him that, but Vegeta requested that he didn't, and Beerus already had no plans of telling Goku. He wanted him to be surprised, wanted him to know that there were still people out there stronger than him. This way, it serves as motivation for him. And yes, I know this form is technically called Full Power, but come on, you guys all know it's inspired by Legendary Super Saiyan, and a lot of you already call it Legendary Super Saiyan anyways. So, for Vegeta's godly form, we'll call it Legendary Super Saiyan God. Vegeta vanishes, and so does Cell. Within what feels like an instant to Cell, he's then transported out into the depths of space. And also all the wind was knocked out of him. Vegeta basically tackled him out here. What, is he surprised? Yeah, Vegeta could survive out in space, and so could Cell. He doesn't know if it's because the supercomputer made him that way or because of the Broly as part of him. Not that Broly's ever tested that himself, but Vegeta has here. This should make for a fun battle, right? Cell tries to tap into his full power again, the two auras of Beast and full power combining. I guess we'll call it Legendary Beast Cell, even though it's not really a transformation. Here, they won't have to worry about destroying anything of value. Not that Vegeta really cares about the safety of Earth, but he wants to keep his opponents around there. It's not like Raditz and Nappa give him a challenge, so how else is he going to have fun if Kakarot dies, or Gohan and Broly for that matter? The two dash around Universe 7, clashing, and even with Cell's amazing strength, his attacks barely affect Vegeta. He could damage him, sure, but it's barely leaving a dent. The two zip around and Vegeta feels invigorated. He could tell, once again, he's the strongest, and he's never had a fight this fun. Hopefully Kakarot can give him a challenge because otherwise, his standard has been raised. Vegeta then flies back and charges an attack, and Cell looks terrified, quickly trying to charge an attack of his own, a Kamehameha. He launches it as Vegeta launches a Gamma Burst Flash, and Vegeta yells at Cell, telling him that he's a cheap imitation. Wait, how could he hear him out in the vacuum of space? Who cares? Cell says he barely even knows Vegeta. How's he an imitation? Well, not necessarily of him, but just look at what he is. Amidst their clash, he learned more of who Cell was. And it's pretty easy to tell. Just by his ki alone, he could sense all those other people in him. Cell is just some science experiment. He claims he's perfect, but he's not. You know who is, though? Vegeta. This is the might of a real Saiyan, not a fake one like him. The two beams push each other, but Vegeta adds a little bit more power to his. He was holding back just so he can get that speech in. His beam completely engulfs Cell's beam, and then Cell himself. The beam sends Cell flying back, outside the boundaries of the universes. He's launched to nothingness, and turned into nothingness as he's destroyed by it. It all happened so quick that he didn't even realize he was dead. Vegeta floats in the middle of space, and Whis appears there, commending him. Vegeta asks him how long he's been there, and he said he's only gotten there a few seconds ago. Lord Beerus requested they get there because if that clash went on any longer, well, it would have destroyed the entire multiverse. Vegeta says he had it handled, but Whis says that's no excuse to be reckless. The beam clash alone was too much. Though he asked Vegeta, how's he out in space? He thought the Saiyans couldn't breathe there, at least according to Goku. Vegeta simply says he's built different, but only when transformed. Vegeta focuses and then finds Goku's ki and flies right back to Earth, telling Whis to meet him there. By the time Vegeta gets on Earth, Whis is already there. Looks like he can't outspeed him yet, but he's still pretty quick. Vegeta says Kakarot now owes him. He clearly couldn't handle that threat alone, and Goku hates to admit it, but yeah, that guy was way too strong for him. Though he was the amalgamation of everyone here, so that really just shows how strong they all are. And if anything, he says he and Vegeta should be even. Remember, he killed Gohan and Broly before. Vegeta tells him to not push his luck. Point is, Kakarot owes him a fight, and Goku says Vegeta doesn't need to bribe him. He would have fought him regardless, though he thanks Vegeta for saving Earth. Vegeta corrects him. He didn't save Earth. He just wanted a good fight. Don't get the wrong idea. He didn't do it to save them. But didn't he fight Cell just so he could fight Goku again? So in a way, he was doing it to save them. Vegeta tells him to shut up before he kills them all, and Goku just laughs. Sure. Angrily, Vegeta flies back out into space, telling Whis to get him once Kakarot's ready for the fight. Rude, Whis isn't his secretary. But Whis turns over to Goku. Is he impressed with what he saw? Yeah, he clearly needs to work a lot more. So do Gohan and Broly. But he's happy. Vegeta's grown a lot stronger, and even though he hates to show it, it seems like something in him is changing. He's no good guy, but more important, he doesn't seem to be an evil monster right now. Though he still kinda runs the Frieza Force, so there's that. But hey, baby steps. And with that, we'll end off this story here. What do you guys think about this scenario? I'd love to see what you guys think. As usual, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help out the channel, and it shows me you want to see more videos like this. Anyways, thank you all for watching, thanks for supporting this scenario all the way through, and I'll see you all in my next video.